and $2. Picking it up from the 1950s, early 50s, with Priest and Humphrey in series 1953. And the Monticello on back. Knowing God we trust. But this was how the $2 was still being made as a United States note, and it is a legal tender at its face value for all debts, public and private. The United States of America will pay to the bearer on demand $2. And you have a nice old red seal. So, for a few changes of signature, we just go from Humphrey to Anderson for the 53A, but nothing else changes. Then we got a couple signature changes to Smith and Dillon for series 1953B, but again, not much really happens. It's in the era of Catherine O'Hay Granahan and C. Douglas Dillon. You say that something important happens in that now the different way of printing these is being introduced. The older way is still in use alongside the new. So the older way is now series 1953C, which differs from the others only in the signatures and the series letter itself. That's all. It still is a legal tender at its face value. It still is will pay to the bearer on demand. It still has the old seal, and it still does not have "In God We Trust" anywhere on the reverse. But the new series, printed by the new method, is series 1963, and now this one with the same signatures has a number of changes. Now it's just this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Still a United States note, but now it's just the United States of America and $2. And that's all. And on the back, we have a bigger change. That is because now we have "In God We Trust," where before we didn't. But it's still the Monticello. And that's our new $2. Now, the other change that happened is that because of the new printing method, the old was printed wet and would shrink a little bit. The new is printed dry and does not shrink. So some accommodation had to be made in order to fit the slightly larger portrait, besides widening the oval just a little bit. Because they didn't change the bottom in terms of its size. All they did was replace this, will pay to the bearer on demand verbiage with this same space occupied by some new bit of scroll work. So now you just have the United States, America, $2. And that's all. So in order to accommodate that, what they did for the picture was they just went ahead and expanded it and didn't mind that. I mean, look at this. You can see the corner of his lapel going here. Here you never even make it to that corner because the picture is bigger and it just cuts off more. And that's how they accommodated the fact that the picture got bigger. So now we're on the new method of printing. And for the next series letter, 1963A, Granahan and Fowler, there's only the new manner of printing these things. So it's just legal tender, public and private, United States of America, scroll work, $2. So, and on the back, it's got "In God We Trust." But this was trailing off, and next thing you know, they stopped printing these all together sometime in 1966. And from that time until 10 years later, in 1976, there were no $2 bills being printed at all or released, other than just old ones that might have been let back out again, but that was all, the older ones. Okay, but finally, come 1976, came the bicentennial year, and with that, it just made sense. They're still in the period of Neff and Simon. For everything else that comes out in their time is dated 1974, but this one lone exception is dated 1976. It is now finally a Federal Reserve note, and you have all the green numbers and green Treasury Seal, which now is also the new Treasury Seal, introduced in 1966 for most 1969 for most denominations, and 1966 for the $100. So this is now the new look of the $2, and they made so many. It was 1976 because it's the bicentennial. It was to go with the 1976 bicentennial $quarter, $half, and Eisenhower dollar. But those reverted back to their normal appearances for those coins in 1977. They printed a bunch of these that they didn't need anymore until 1995, and ever since they've kept the same design. The big change, of course, isn't so much the front, which, as you can observe, it also has the new larger size, the addition of the scroll work, and this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Only it's got a bank, a Federal Reserve Bank letter on it, and so forth. Where before there's a grade 2, but the other one here, and the same scroll work in there. But the big change is what's on the back side, which, as you can see, is a complete change. So where before you had Jefferson's home, the Monticello, you know, within God we trust and everything. Now you've got the signers of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, based on the old Trumbull painting. A few of the faces are missing. Not sure why. I'm not going to try to figure out which ones or why. But anyway, you can see there's In God We Trust is still on there. And that went well with the other 1970 bicentennial coins coming out at that time. Only that's still there to this day, and will probably stay there as long as this denomination remains in print. So that's what happened to this denomination. And that's really all. Not as much with 2. And that finishes 2.